13,000. 13,000 people go homeless every single month here in LA County. Let that sink in. You're all sitting here watching a presentation, other people sleeping on the streets. Now, let me tell you something. Back when I was smaller, living in the valley, my mom used to organize this thing where we would go every year during the holiday season to go give food to the homeless people. We'd buy a bunch of food, canned food, the basics that people would need. We would go into Hollywood area and distribute these. Now, for me, I didn't think much of homeless people because I didn't know who they were. I thought it was pretty cool. You can be on the streets, do whatever you want. As a little kid, I enjoyed that. I used to like getting dirty and being outside. I like that. But the way I see homeless people now has changed my life because of my mom. And from that evening, when we were giving out food to homeless people, we gave some canned carrots to this homeless man. His face glowed, and I wondered why. I have canned food at home, and I don't smell like that. But it's because he puts value into that. And I could see the emotions this guy was putting in his eyes. I could see someone, just a normal person, just like us, that is happy for getting food. And people actually care about it, and people are actually doing something about that, right? Now, for me, he started talking to me and my mom and telling us the conditions, the harsh conditions he used to live on, bouncing from homeless shelter to homeless shelter, and living like that from year to year. And for me, that changed my perspective on homeless people. Most of us walk around in LA, we walk past homeless people, we don't think much of them because we think they're just there. We don't think of them as people, and that's something bad. They're just as human as us. They're just as human as us. Now let's identify the problem here in LA County. Since last year, we've seen a 23% increase in homelessness alone. That's about 43,000 people living on the streets of LA unsheltered, about 13,000 of those bouncing from shelter to shelter, and also having some injuries from living on the streets. And as homeless people, you get that. You get illnesses and injuries. But then you go to the hospital as a normal person, but then you're left with a medical bill, right? In LA, there's about 54,000 homeless people. The third of that, which is about 19,000, visit the ER about 5 times per year. The cost averaging about $18,500. Now, with those 19,000 people and $18,500, that's about $350 million. But who's paying that? The government? The loyal banks who give us money? No. It's you guys, the taxpayers, the people who are living their own lives, but then paying for other people's things. And most of these things can be preventable.
So through our research, we found that it's offering housing to homeless people will lower the amount of ER visits by a whopping 61%. So my team and I figured that we could do something to further decrease that amount of ER visits by homeless people. So what we had in mind was to create some kind of home, something that could prevent those injuries and illnesses. And by no means do we plan on eradicating homelessness overall. We know we probably won't be able to accomplish that. But if we have to live with the fact that homelessness is there, that it exists and we can't get rid of it, the least we can do is do something to make it easier to cope with and coexist with homelessness. So that's why we founded Hyperion Homes.
Now, Hyperion Homes, we're a nonprofit organization where we want to connect with the community and get their side of the story and how things should be and how we should treat other people. And also inspiring younger generations to take that leading role into making a better world and making changes. Sure, apps are great. They make us social in some way. But changing the world, you can't put value on that because we're changing other people's lives.
So with that vision in mind, with helping homeless people, we thought that we would look into other companies and organizations that had a similar vision to ours. So this is the first that we found, EDAR, which stands for Everyone Deserves a Roof. So this group has been inactive since 2014. We looked through their website and others and found that they haven't been funded and haven't been putting out their product for 3 years now. And unfortunately enough, so you can see here their design, and it isn't a bad idea. So you can see that they utilized shopping carts, and the whole design can open up and create essentially a tent for somebody to sleep in. But we found this design to be rather insufficient because though they have a space for bed, they are compromising that space for their storage space. So go on, Kenny. So the next one we found was rolling shelters. And so this one, instead of having a bed, they had a lot of storage space. And this one also utilizes a piece of a shopping cart. But as you can see, and as I said, there's no bed, and it's really bulky. So what we wanted to do was take these two great ideas. We wanted to get the best of both worlds. We want a lot of storage space as well as a place to sleep.
But we wanted to go above and beyond. We wanted to get advice from homeless people to actually live on the streets and get their input of what should be in the cart, right? So I conducted interviews, and 26 homeless people I interviewed, this one stuck up the most to me. This is Scott, 52 years old, living on the streets of Hollywood. Born in New Jersey, all the way here in LA, from getting kicked out of the Navy to getting arrested, to sleeping in construction sites, and even getting arrested in purpose so he can have somewhere to sleep at night and get food. Now, from those 26 people I interviewed, about 90% said they wanted a bed. That's a no-brainer. Who would want to sleep on a concrete floor? Outlet, something that surprised me, they're Obama phones. They have phones, but they can't charge them anywhere. So an outlet would be a good thing for them on their carts. And also a cooler to keep their food that they get given. Sometimes they can't eat it all at once because they want to save it for other days. And also an anti-theft mechanism. That surprised me too. So a major problem between homeless people is stealing each other's shopping carts. And that I didn't know, but that's something that I'm glad I learned. And also another thing I did was, after milestone 2, I wanted to interview the residents that live near encampments and get their side of the story. I interviewed about 15 of those residents. About 100% wanted, obviously, a cleaner neighborhood. About 70%, which actually surprised me, wouldn't mind living, coexisting with those homeless people as long as they're organized and they're clean. But about 50% wanted them removed. It's understandable if they're extremely dirty and if they cause major problems in the neighborhood.
So with all of that in mind, we figured that we would have 4 major features in our mobile urban shelter. A lot of storage space for their stuff, an integrated bed, a cooler, and securable wheels for that anti-theft mechanism vibe. So go for it. So at this point, you guys are probably thinking what we're actually making, like what our design actually looks like. So this was our first design, and it does look really simple. So the lockable wheels we were going to have, basically it would just be able to lock the wheels so they'd be stationary. The foldable bed and the cooler. So you can see the foldable bed folding into 3 here and folding up to the side. And we know that looks very simple, but we really stepped up our game. And so our latest design, you can see here. So our latest design is made out of steel. Essentially, the whole thing is steel, because the biggest, most important aspect of our cart is that it'll be durable. These people are using shopping carts to move around their stuff, and there's a reason that they're doing that. It's because shopping carts don't really break. Our first design, we were planning on using wood, and then we realized that that wouldn't really be the best idea, because we know that wood isn't that durable. So this time, we used steel, and you can see that the bed is implemented on the side. So here, we can show you guys it opening up. So let's say during the day, a homeless person is using this cart to carry around their stuff. And then at nighttime, they're able to easily access this bed on the side, and in one fluid motion, just grab the bed from the bottom and pull it out. So next, you guys can see our chassis. So that's just the structural framework of our entire body. So you can see that there's tubing, rectangular steel tubing for the base. And then on the left side, you have angled steel tubing. And then on the right, you have rectangular steel tubing. And there's 2 different types of support systems here, because this way we can have the bed actually stored inside the cart. So we're making it more compact, and essentially, right, it's denser, it's more efficient. And so further on, this is how the bed is actually connected to the cart. So we have mounting clamps welded onto the side of our carts, and you can see here that the bed can, go ahead, the bed just gets inserted in there, so it has full 360-degree motion. And along with that, we also integrated a cooler. So the cooler is also easily accessible near the feet of the person, and so the cooler would just be able to open, go ahead, and right there it's steel, but we would implement cooling insulation, and yeah. So here are the wheels. So we have 4 wheels, and the back 2 are fixed, and the front 2 are swiveling. So we figured that a lot of the time, these homeless people are using their cars to travel long distances, essentially in a straight line. So, well, we figured that in a whole day, a homeless person might use their car for 7 hours a day for mobile transport. And we thought that about 6.5 hours, 6 hours and 30 minutes of that time, they'd be moving in a straight line, and 30 minutes they'd be turning. So with that in mind, we wouldn't need 4 swiveling wheels. We would just have, we'd have 2 fixed wheels and 2 swiveling wheels.
So as far as cost analysis go, we're using steel, obviously. Sometimes it could be cheap or it could be expensive, depending on what type of steel and how thick the steel is. So as far as steel goes, for the main reason, the biggest thing we ran as a problem was finding someone that could help us put this all together. The most obvious person is a welder, someone who knows how to weld these to steel. So an average experienced welder would cost about $40 an hour, which isn't too bad. And then a lockable wheels is $20, and with some minor things we might do to it. And another thing is 10 by 3 feet of steel shaped, what we would use as a wall, $75. $50 for 10 feet of steel, which is the rectangular tubing as a chassis, and then $20 for insulation that we would install ourselves. As far as fabrication goes, we were caught at making decisions. There's 2 decisions we could have made, buy or make. As far as make goes, we made the chassis. So we would use steel and then weld it and powder coat it too, so it'd be almost bulletproof. And then integrated with anti-theft mechanism, which is the wheel. And as far as buying goes, we would buy the folding cot, the solar power. We're not making our own solar panels, right? And also a cooler. As development plan goes, we're going to order steel and for the actual model for whenever we need it. And also hire welders, experienced welders. They're going to help us and also teach us at the same time. And also to target District 2 and District 5, the 2 biggest districts that have seen a major increase in homelessness and are doing not much about it because they're struggling. And then deploy 10 of these by the end of August so we can get feedback. We're going to be tracking these at the same time, but we're going to get feedback from the 10 that are being deployed. And then in 1 year, our stretch goal is to deploy 10,000 of these and change 10,000 lives. As far as people that have been interested in giving us advice, we've had people from Sylvan de la Cruz, the community organizer for District 13, who also introduced us, Mitchell Farrell, and also Lee Ron Gubler, the president of Chamber of Commerce, who also directed us to Miley Reinsman, the deputy supervisor of Sheila Kuehl, and handles homeless initiatives. How can you take an action now to help us end homelessness, but make it also livable for them too? Go to our website and learn more. Be knowledgeable about this and pass on the knowledge. Also donate and volunteer, but most importantly, spread the word. My name's Kenny.
My name's Kevin.
And we approve this message.